doing, everybody? Brent Alvarez and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio, June 28, 2025, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Skype has died, as some of you might be aware, and so this is a show with three people in completely different places, and I think we have this all working. So Paul Fontaine is here, in lieu of Garrett, who is also somewhere else, now that I think about it. And Dave is here as well via photograph and computer. And I think we're all here. Paul, you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Brian.
And Dave?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, my God, it's working. All right, well, in lieu of Garrett, Paul's going to do the UFC recap with you, Dave. And afterwards, we'll get into Night of Champion and all that kind of fun stuff. So, Paul, Dave, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, it was UFC 317 from the T-Mobile in Las Vegas. At the end of International Fight Week. Main event was Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. Dave, you watched the main card?
I only watched the top five match.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah,
it was a really fun show.
It was, and the undercard was good too. And I'll quickly go over the undercard at the end, but main event was, it was quick. Just under half a round, 2 minutes 27 seconds. Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira. Beautiful combination. Probably knocked him out with the first punch, and then just kind of finished the job on the way down with the second cross punch, and just knocked Charles Oliveira out cold. And he was losing pretty bad, anyways, before he got knocked out. So it was a really impressive performance for Topuria, who. His last three fights, he's knocked out now Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, and Alexander Volkanovski, which is, that's just about as impressive as anybody in lightweight or featherweight division has done, in maybe ever.
Yeah, I think it's one of the more impressive streaks in UFC history.
Oh yeah.
As far as flat out knockouts, because they were, it wasn't like knock him silly ref stop. It was these were knockouts, and this one was impressive because the one thing with Topuria at lightweight is that he's small for the division. He was smaller than Oliveira. At first, when he was in there, he was landing some really good punches, and Oliveira was just taking them, and it was kind of like, well, that punching power, doesn't always, when you go up and he was fighting, and then when he was doing the grappling and everything, it's like he's going to be hitting bigger guys, and he's grappling with much stronger guys than he's used to beating. And when he was doing the grappling, the reality is that, he ended up on top in the exchanges. Oliveira did go for some submissions and everything. He's dangerous. But Topuria is, legitimately, Topuria is like another George St. Pierre. He's just like a guy ahead of his time. So impressive. It's going to be tougher at lightweight because, again, at featherweight, he was fighting guys his own size. At lightweight, he doesn't want to cut anymore. I get it. It's probably really hard when you're that good and you don't have to, and he doesn't have to. But it is like a deal like a Frankie Edgar thing. You know what I mean? Where eventually someone's going to be really good who's bigger, and it's going to be tougher. But I don't know who that person is.
It could be Makhachev, but he may not go back to 155.
Yeah, him and Makhachev's a giant fight. It's probably the biggest fight that they have right now. But I don't know Makhachev's going to go back down. You know what though? If Makhachev loses in the title fight, he will go back down because he'll know it. You know what I mean? So there's a chance. There's a chance there. And Makhachev going up 15 pounds is even harder than Topuria going up 10. Really?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And Makhachev's is going to be a real small guy going against the guys that fight at welterweight. So he's going to face the same thing. But he's also ahead of his time, incredible fighter with great endurance and everything. But it was interesting because at the end of the thing, Topuria clearly knew who his money fight was with Makhachev out there, and he went out there and he just cut a promo on Patty Pimblett, who was right there at ringside. They called Patty Pimblett into the arena. Taporia shoved him hard.
Yeah.
Names. I mean, it was like one of those things where it was like old UFC, where it's just like they're building up something like, like pro wrestling or whatever, right? But then afterwards, like Dana was just like, because when I'm watching them, I'm going like, oh my God, they have to do this fight. It's too big now not to do it. But in no way, shape, or form does Patty Pimblett, deserve a world title fight at all. I mean, Sarukian probably deserves it, and then, Dave G, is another one who, and Dave G and Taporia, to me is a real interesting big fight. I mean, Dave G can get knocked out, and Holloway finished him, and Holloway is a smaller guy too. Gaethje's got a lot of miles on him, with all the wars he's been in, but he's always in a fantastic fight. But it's like those guys are more deserving of a championship fight than Patty. Dana afterwards was pissed that Patty got in, and I could really tell that it was one of those things where, even though it's the money fight, I think in his mind, I think that Sarukian's the guy he wanted in there because, you know what I mean? And now it's going to be hard to make any other fight but this one. So it's a real interesting thing, and Taporia is going to go in there as champion, wanting to fight Patty. I mean, that's the fight. That's the money. That is the biggest money fight. And Patty, so Patty's like a 195-pound guy, cuts to 155, which is crazy in and of itself. But so when if Taporia is fighting Patty, the one thing Patty in no way, shape, or form is as good a fighter as Taporia pound for pound. But if you're going into the cage 20 pounds heavier, or 15 pounds heavier, or whatever it might be, there is something to that.
I would put Patty, obviously Dana doesn't want to do the Patty fight, so I'd put Patty against Gaethje. And then, if he can beat Gaethje and after beating Chandler, then he probably deserves a title fight. Yeah. And in the meantime, you can do Sarukian or, whoever else they want to do. Sarukian obviously is probably the guy. I think Taporia, he looked at that, was like, yeah, this is easy money. And but it's funny that Dana said who let him in. I mean, Joe Rogan invited him in. Because Joe Rogan, I mean, he knows. He gets it. So yeah, it was.
Taporia just went out there, and it was so clear what his intentions were. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I want that blonde bitch. I mean, who's he talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, he referenced Sarukian too, but he had the emphasis on Patty, and the cameras had Patty right there, and Patty was, bring it on, I'm ready, because he knows the game too, and he gets in there and he's all respectful and everything, but Taporia was just he just wouldn't let up because he's just trying to make a fight. And I was surprised Dana walked it back, but I guess like you say, he knows that it's it's not. If he's going to do the fight, he wants it to be legitimate, and he needs Patty needs at least one more big win.
His win was over Chandler, who's on his way out anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So, and you've got that fight next month with, I think it's next month with Holloway and Poirier. So, the winner of that's going to probably want a title shot. So,
well, the thing with Poirier though is it's his retirement fight.
Yeah, it is, but.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I'll say this: if Poirier gets a big win, that would actually be him and Taporia. To me, is a Taporia probably does beat Poirier at this stage, but I think that's a really big fight to have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and he already beat Holloway, so that's not as big a fight. But yeah, so yeah, there are a lot of ways they can go. And then in the co-main, you had the flyweight title fight, Alexander Pantoja and Kai Kara France. And again, it was a quick win. Well, not quick, but third round.
Third round.
Yeah, submission. And it was interesting because Pantoja dominated the first round. And then Kai Kara France kind of came back in the second, and he had a better round. He still lost, but he got taken down and got back up, which seemed to give him a little bit of confidence. And he was kind of taken over in the second half of the round. You kind of had the impression, maybe Pantoja's getting tired. Maybe Kai Car-France can be able to hit him. But then in the third round, Pantoja just took him down again, worked for the back, got in the rear naked choke, and finished him. Kai Car-France tried to fight it off, but eventually just had to tap. And Pantoja, again, like Topuria, he's fast becoming like one of the best guys in the division, especially flyweight, which doesn't have a lot of finishes. He's had, I'm just looking at the record now, 4 finishes in the last 7 fights, and tied or passed Demetrius Johnson for most wins at flyweight. Of course, Demetrius, most of his fights were title fights, so his record's more impressive. But Pantoja is, he's one of the best flyweights of all time.
Oh yeah. It was interesting because again, like after this fight was over, it's like there was a obvious fight with him and Joshua Van. So Joshua Van and Brandon Royval.
Yeah, we should talk about that right now.
Third from the top. So that legitimately could be fight of the year. I mean, that fight was an all-time classic fight. It was, I wouldn't say it was as good as the Holloway Gaethje fight. Okay, I would not say that, but it was along the same lines and very similar at the finish in the sense. With Holloway Gaethje, I think Holloway was going to win the decision anyway, and he got the knockout like in the closing seconds. In this one, it was really close. Like they were just at war with each other.
I had no idea who was going to give that third round.
I had no idea either. I mean, until the last second when Joshua Van dropped him, it's like, okay, because I had a 1-1.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
But the problem was that it could have been anything because those 2 rounds were both could have gone either way. And then third round, I'm going like, who's winning? And they're just hitting each other over and over again, back and forth. And both are landing strong shots. I mean, what was it? Royval was landing more,
but he threw way more. Like he threw like almost twice as many strikes as Van. Van was just more accurate, but Royval threw like 500 strikes in a 3-round fight.
It was unbelievable. They both were, but Van was crisper, But Royval, he was just throwing and never stopping. It was like it was incredible, and it was just and a lot of the shots were good. They were hurting each other all the way through, and then finally Van drops him like right at the end of the fight to win round 3, and he got 29-28 on all 3 judges' scorecards.
Actually, I think one may have given him 30-27. I'm not sure.
Oh, you're right. Great. There was 30-27. Yeah.
But I mean, he would have finished him if he had 10 more seconds. Like it looked like Royval was done. And but yeah, it was incredible, and it wasn't like the Holloway fight where they just both decide, okay, let's throw down. Like this was just the natural evolution of the fight, like where they both knew, like we got to do something. Like because the first round was Royval was kind of like he was holding back, and he was just trying to block punches and just keeping his distance, and Van was just coming forward. And then in between the first and second round, the corners told Royval, you got to go for it. Like you have to be active. And then from that point on, it was a war. Like the second and third rounds were as good a 2 rounds as you're going to see in MMA, especially from top level guys. It was an incredible fight. And yeah, and then you said like right away when Van was done, he challenged the winner of the next fight. Like he knew what he should do. And the thing I remember is when we did the show like 3 weeks ago, Joshua Van wasn't even ranked. And then he got a win on that show 3 weeks ago. And then he takes this fight on short notice, comes in as number 12 contender, beats number 1. And now he's going to get a flyweight title fight. Like that's how quick. And the guy's only 23 years old.
I know, and this is a sport where, it's just like because you have to know so many skills. You don't peak at 23 like if you were a pure wrestler or a pure boxer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like because of So he was really impressive, but he kind of made himself a star 3 weeks ago, and then he made himself into a top contender with this one. And the other one is that he broke his toe in the last fight. Didn't tell anyone. Took this fight with a broken toe. it's like it's not the end of the world, but still, normally, 3-week turnaround already is, in this day and age, for UFC is kind of crazy, especially going against a guy at the level of Royval, you know what I mean? And then
he had nothing to lose, and he fought like it. Like that was it. Like he was going in by the end. Like even if he had lost, he probably moves up the rankings. Like that's the kind of fight this was. And Royval, I don't even think he loses anything. Like I mean, he lost the fight.
As far as star power, no.
Yeah, and Dana said he's getting his full win bonus. Royval.
Right. Dana said that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were both. They got the best fight bonus, right?
Well, of course. I mean, so it was incredible. And we should have mentioned Topuria. I think it was Topuria and Pantoja got the. It was Topuria and Gregory Rodriguez. We'll talk about in a second. Got the other ones.
I didn't see, but I know.
So great fight and great. Future fight that they made up. So, they'll probably have to wait a bit because Van took a lot of damage. Pantoja didn't. So, like as soon as Van's ready, I'm sure they can do this fight. I would guess probably 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I mean, this was multiple standing ovations.
Yeah.
I mean, this was one of those like again, this was like a fight that. I mean,
they may be able to headline a pay-per-view now with this, whereas going in, you wouldn't think you could headline a pay-per-view with the next flyweight title fight, but
it wouldn't. I don't know that it would draw on top. I think it would be super number 2 fight, but the way that pay-per-views are now, you probably could do it.
I guess it depends where they fight, in terms of like ticket sales and whatnot.
Yeah. One of the things they were talking about a lot was the idea of Topuria defending his title in Spain.
Oh, that I mean, if they did Topuria and Patty in Spain, that was huge. So maybe that's like 2 fights down the road.
Yeah.
Then we had not a great fight. Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano started out all right, but by about midway through the second round, Dariush was just he was just taking down Moicano and holding him down, and Moicano got tired, and then the third round was kind of boring. But Dariush lost the first, so he needed to do what he needed to do, and he did. And got a unanimous decision. I think 29-28 across the board. And in the lightweight division. So unfortunately, you had a lightweight title fight on this card, and you think 2 top guys, maybe one of them is going to get a title shot, but Dariush didn't look like a guy you'd want challenging, and he didn't even seem to care. In his post-fight interview, he's just like, I'm here to fight. I like fighting. That's it.
He's 36. He's 36 years old. You know what I mean? I think he's at a level of where he could be, a guy. A guy that if a guy's on the way up, you test him with him. But I don't see Dariush as a guy who's going to win a championship or get a championship fight. No. Lightweight division is always going to be strong, even if like Poirier retires, and Gaethje loses one more time. Because Gaethje's already talking retirement too. I mean those, but it's and Oliveira got Oliveira's not getting another title shot anytime soon after being knocked out the way he was.
No, that's brutal.
So maybe that takes a lot of key players off the board. So I don't know.
Like if he had gotten an impressive win, you'd be talking about it. But this one just kind of
not the next title defense. If he gets like a giant win, maybe. Yeah.
And then opening up the main card was Peyton Talbot and Felipe Lima, bantamweight fight. Talbot's really a guy they had a lot of hope in, top contender, and he lost his last fight, so he kind of needed this one. And Felipe Lima is another guy who had a good record, 14-1, and first round was close. I gave it to Lima. A lot of people gave it to Talbot, and then Talbot clearly won the second and third and got the win to kick off the main card. And it was an okay fight. It wasn't great.
I was very entertained by it, actually.
It was like Talbot's good. Like he's improved a lot, and he's very, very young. I think I want to say 26. Okay, so he's young in the sport.
He's 26, but I mean, they both were pretty skilled. They were both pretty good. but I thought it was entertaining because it was one of those fights where I think both guys fought a little bit above their usual level. Number one, I mean, I don't know. Lima maybe. He hadn't really been tested and everything. He looked good. He looked like he was a good fighter. Talbot just, it was funny because, I mean, it was clear the guy's strategy, Lima's strategy, was to take him down and everything like that. And Talbot just was, from his previous fight, that would be your strategy. But Talbot worked on his weaknesses.
What was weird was Lima was piecing him up on the feet, but he kept trying to take him down. And every time he get him down, Talbot was dominating him on the ground.
Well, he reversed him. Yeah, but I mean, I think the guy came in with a game plan, based on previous, but the guy had improved, and his corner, and they did kind of tell him.
Yeah, he just wasn't listening to his corner. It was
stay standing, right?
Yeah, because he was hurting him on the feet, but he just kept wanting to go to the ground because I think he was hurting him on the feet, but then whenever something would come back, he didn't like it. So it was interesting. But Talbot's got to keep an eye on for sure. And then just quickly on the undercard, we talked about Gregory Rodriguez. So he brutally knocked out Jack Hermanson. He knocked him out cold, and Hermanson went down like flat back bump. He was out, and then Herb Dean was way far away, so he's running in to stop it, and then Rodriguez hit him with another punch while he was out cold. While Herb Dean has hands on him, but he was like behind him, so I don't think Rodriguez knew he was there. So Dean was just out of position there. But and it took a long time to get Hermanson out of the cage. They even referenced it later, like they said he left the building on his own power. So, but it looked really bad. Like he was lying there out cold for a long time.
It must have been really. I mean, because they, usually like if something like that happens, they don't reference it again, and they reference it twice on the pay-per-view.
It was brutal. It was one of the worst knockouts you're going to see. And Jose, the other one that we want to note, Jose Delgado, and Dana said he's going to get a bonus for this, even though he didn't get a performance bonus, but he knocked out Haider Emil in 26 seconds. Quickly, the other results. Tracy Cortez got a unanimous decision over Vivian Araju. Terrence McKinney, first-round submission over Vyacheslav Borshev. Jacoby Smith, second-round submission over Nico Price. And in the opener, as I think it was John Anik called it, the Joe Silva special, the heavyweight opener, Janata Denise got a unanimous decision over Alvin Hines. Better than you'd think with two heavyweights, but not anything you really need to go to your way to see. They did 19,800 with $11.3 million gate. The team over.
Isn't that amazing? Especially, the main event really was an interesting fight.
The last time I was on with you, we were talking about draws, and Ryan had pointed out to me, I should have mentioned Ilya Topuria because he is one of their top draws, especially internationally. So, this pay-per-view probably did all right.
Yeah, I mean, Ilya Topuria might be the best fighter in the company. I think he really might be. I mean, based on record and what he's done his last three fights, it's hard to argue. I mean, it's pretty much him and Makhachev, right?
Yeah, and we haven't seen Makhachev, and we've seen Topuria. So, and the other one, Mirab is in there.
In there. Yeah, but I mean, Mirab's lost. Topuria has not just never lost, but he wins impressively, and he has an all-around skill level. I mean, legitimately, his all-around skill level is like, I don't want to say nothing I've ever seen, but it's up there with anyone I've ever seen. I mean,
and out of all of them, he also gets the other part too. Yeah, he's kind of like Adesanya that way. Like where he gets it. So, and that's a good combination to have, to be the best fighter and to understand the thing.
Did you see any of the Hall of Fame stuff?
I did not. To be honest, I completely forgot it was on. When I logged into UFC Fight Pass to see the prelims, I saw it. So I'll probably watch it tomorrow. But I heard it was really good.
I was just wondering about how, I didn't even know that Shaq was going to be there, with Belfort. I knew that Dwayne was going to be there, so I was kind of interested in that. But, on Thursday, it was just like, because of Collision, everything being on Thursday was just, and trying to just finish up the issue, was just like, there was just no way.
I could have watched it Friday. I just didn't even. It didn't even occur to me like that it was International Fight Week. Honestly, they did a package at the beginning of the show, like showing highlights of all the old fight weeks, and so many of them I was there live, and it kind of brought me back to those days. Like I was there covering it, and now I'm like watching it on TV. I haven't been to since before the pandemic. I haven't been to an International Fight Week. I've been to a couple of UFCs, but. So it's a good show. Not your typical like International Fight Week kind of thing, but one of the better pay-per-views of the year for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I watched it, and then I watched earlier in the day, obviously the Night of Champions, and I thought the show was far better than Night of Champions.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Night of Champions
was fine. It was fine, but this show had a real spark to it. Obviously the Royval fight, it's not fair to compare, but the Royval fight was, like that.
I'm just glad I didn't have to pay for the other one.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, let's get a couple of plugs in here, and then we'll let you get to bed.
Yeah, sure. Well, I do a show with Garrett Gonzalez. We were off this week, but we'll be back on Monday, called The Takedown, where we just kind of go over all the big news items of the week. So you can find that on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel on Monday afternoon. And then the Dynamite Show with Jeff Hawkins on the Fight Game Media free audio feed. We go up live 20 minutes after Dynamite ends every week. So we'll be back next Wednesday with that.
One real quick question. Any big matches that I need to watch?
Mike Santana and AJ Francis, believe it or not, from Impact this week was awesome.
Really?
Yeah. Best match you're ever going to see AJ Francis have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Lance will be happy that Impact.
How was Ishin Drilla?
Oh, it was awesome too. I put them basically at the same level. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not concentrate on Ishii and Drilla, but it was on yesterday. I finally got around to having it on, and it seemed like a really big match. I mean, not like Saray and Shuri. I mean, like that.
No, not at that level, but
that's like match of the year. But Ishii and Drilla just felt to me like a really great match of what I saw of it.
It made me sad that they're not both in the G1. But
I was really happy for Maloney to be in the G1.
Yeah, he's gonna have a good tournament.
I think he should be in, and it's good that Newman's in. Newman had that great match with Goto, and I mean, a lot of people were mad about Taichi, but it's borderline, with him, honestly, and
and Taichi and Ishii got the tag team titles, so
yeah, that's probably the reason they didn't win, honestly.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, because they have something else. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Paul. Really appreciate it, and we'll hear from you soon. All right, Dave, we got Night of Champions to talk about. Before we get into that, a couple of notes from SmackDown. Julia did win the women's U.S. title, and she just beat her. I mean, it was like just a short match, dominated the match, hit her move, pinned her. She is the new United States champion.
I mean, like, if you're slotting women stars, they're not anywhere near the same level.
Oh, of course not.
So it's like, I think that the whole thing is that, Julia, I mean, Vega was, one of those, they give people belts to give people belts, right? But they're not serious about them at that level. They're just like, it's, pass around belt. It's like, you've been here for a lot of years. You're fine. We'll give you a run. Julie is like someone who they're like grooming to be like one of the top stars. So, I mean, I couldn't have foreseen any different result, really.
And then we had the announcement that SmackDown is moving back to 2 hours next week. This was the final 3-hour SmackDown by the grace of God. Back to 2 hours starting the 4th of July and from that point forward.
Yeah, well, that's definitely good news because it wasn't to anyone's benefit except for the USA Networks for 3-hour SmackDown.
And then the other thing we got to talk about is the week CM Punk had. So it started off with a pre-Night of Champions. It was like a press type of deal or whatever, just like some pre-Night of Champions. I forget what they called it. It was something on the whatever. But anyway, some fan basically, it was a kickoff event. If we're going to use the actual term they use. So a fan basically told Punk that he wanted him to apologize for the tweet where in 2020 he told The Miz to, quote, go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia. And so CM Punk said, this guy wants me to apologize for a mean tweet I wrote 6 years ago. Hey, listen, legitimately had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia, he said. I woke up and I was crabby. I wrote a mean tweet to The Miz. I apologized to The Miz. And, sir, what's your name, Muhammad? Muhammad, I sincerely apologize to you, and I love Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So that's what he said. And
that obviously, that obviously was planted. That never, you know what I mean? It's really interesting how, they, whatever it was, obviously somebody wanted him to apologize, and he did. Because he's not exactly the apologetic type, for one thing. And if you're going to apologize, I don't know if this is the thing you apologize for, given his, political viewpoints and everything, but, it's money and it's wrestling, and you don't expect wrestlers to have morals. And I'm not saying no wrestlers have morals, but you don't expect it as a general rule. And it's what I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I thought he came off just horrible. It was one of those things where it was like he. All the time he was there, they always protected him. And that's why I figured this whole thing, they'll always protect him, like they protect people from this type of thing. And they did not protect him at all. They ran an angle that made him look bad. They did this they made him apologize. Triple H was like, it's like, it's so grown up of him to apologize. And it's like, but whatever. I just thought, it couldn't be worse, but it's wrestling, and it's to be expected.
Well, he did get a very mixed reaction on SmackDown when he came out and essentially played 2005 John Cena. He played basic thugonomics, and his main event segment was a rap. He did a rap. That was his go-home segment with John Cena. I thought it was hideously corny. And, he got some cheers. He got a lot of boos. It was the same thing the next night. And with the exception of the very end of the main event, John Cena was a babyface at Night of Champions. He even at one point had the opportunity to use the title belt and save the match, and he opted to throw it aside. And the fans were totally behind him.
Yeah, but that was a setup for to double cross Punk. You know what I mean?
But they were behind him the entire match.
They're going to be behind him. It's funny that even in commentary they acknowledge that, John Cena is getting cheered almost everywhere. It was not just here. You know what I mean? It's like, well, John Cena's blah blah blah, but he's getting cheered. So it's kind of like, and John Cena's thing about, well, I'm going to do whatever the fans want me to do. That's basically saying I'm going back babyface. As soon as we can figure out the way to do it, if not sooner. He was happy. He's been babyface without a turn in the fans' eyes anyway, because of the absolute, veteran of 25 years going out, old guy, who was a former star who's going to retire. It's like, how do you make? How's that a heel? How's that a heel? You know what I mean?
It's not a heel. It was abundantly clear this entire weekend, and actually for the last several weeks, in fact. But the show opened up with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, King of the Ring finals. It was the best match on the show, and had an incredible crowd. The story of the crowd was they never booed Cody, but they were more into Randy as far as the guy they wanted to see win. Whenever he did a counter, whenever he did a move, they went crazy. They did do a spot at the very end where they did the trading punches back and forth, and they did say boo whenever Cody like threw a shot. But it wasn't like they were really booing. They just wanted to do yay boo, and they chose Randy as the guy they were going to yay. That was the closest that Cody got to being booed. But they had a good match. It was a slow-paced, kind of old-school WWE World Title style match. It wasn't like just, boom, boom, boom. They didn't have to do a lot because the crowd was so hot. And that was kind of how the match felt. Like, they could have done more, but they didn't need to, so they didn't.
Cody was real good. I thought Cody was real good as far as keeping up the pace, Randy. I thought it was a very well done wrestling match. It was really, really good. Even excellent. I would even say excellent. But it was, everything was solid. Everything made sense. But it was it was better than a WWE title match. 90%, if not more than 90% of WWE title matches. They were both really on target with their wrestling and smooth at everything. And the funny part was the story is that the guy who in the end went heelish was Randy Orton because it's like they did the spot, okay, and it's like the third time in months that they've done the spot. Cody Rhodes did the same thing with Cena, which is just lame, and Kevin Owens did with Cody Rhodes, and now Randy Orton, of all people, who's the one guy character-wise who should never do it. He's sitting there wanting to do the punt, sits there forever. Oh, am I going to do it? Oh, am I not going to do it? Oh, am I a baby face? Oh, am I not? And the whole thing is Randy Orton had said, I'm going to do whatever it needs to win. So finally, he decides he's going to do a punt after wasting so much time, and he misses it, and then he, another point, he undoes the turnbuckle, which ended up being his undoing. But so he was the one who did the heel moves at the end for Cody to win as a baby face. Not that that really matters, but that was the way that they chose to do it.
Well, yeah, Randy undid the top turnbuckle. They fought over it. Randy tried the RKO. Cody shoved him into the exposed buckle, hit a crossroads, and got the win. So afterwards, it wasn't just what they did in the match. Aldis and Pierce get in the ring. They give Cody the crown. Byron interviews Cody, and as he's thanking Randy, they cut to Randy in the aisle, and Randy is sneering. He is not happy. And Cody said this guy's a future Hall of Famer. It's not his last stop here in Saudi Arabia. Give this guy a hand, he says. And then Randy kind of slinks off. And then Cody vowed to go on to SummerSlam and beat either CM Punk or John Cena. And he said, I know how you feel as an audience when I face beloved characters, but I was born to do this. At SummerSlam, I'll get the ball back. This was the highlight of the show.
That was the best match of the show, yeah. I think they, obviously they're setting up Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton for a bigger match with Randy Orton as a heel. I think that's what this seemed to be. I could even see Randy Orton costing Cody the match with Cena if they want to keep Cena as champion for a couple more months. But it's set up so they did. As far as a match set up, if Orton is going heel and the match set up to turn and the way it played out, and then for Orton to screw him later, I think that as far as the setup goes, for that, I thought they did a very good job. It was very well done. Like, not overdone to the point of fake, you know what I mean? Where it's so transparent, but just enough to where it's there, the seeds are planted. Liked it.
So then we had Rhea and Raquel in a street fight, and they worked very hard. The fans were super into Rhea Ripley. Not so much into Raquel. When she had the heat, they kind of weren't so much into it, but they kind of got into it a lot more at the end. And it was no DQ, and so Roxanne ended up running in, and she got involved for a while. She got beat up by Rhea as well.
So did they have like Lynn Taylor?
Well, no, it was her. She had a matching outfit for Raquel because they're in the Judgment Day together. They were wearing the same outfit.
But Rhea's outfit was awfully similar too.
It was, but Raquel and Roxanne actually were wearing the exact same outfit.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Rhea ends up fighting free of a Tejano bomb. There's a table set up in the corner, and it's one of those wrestling things that they do. So Rhea, this table is like draped over the top turnbuckle, and so she climbs up onto it with Raquel, and I mean it is unstable, and the referee is holding onto it but trying to pretend like he's not, and she ends up hitting a riptide off the table into the ring for the pin. And really, it was literally exactly the same as a top rope riptide, but because it's wrestling, it was more dangerous because she was on a table. And she got the pin.
Well, it was more dangerous because of the table.
It was more dangerous for them, but not like in real life. It's not like she took a bigger bump. It was like you both could have died doing this stupid spot.
When they're standing there, I was thinking, like, what if this thing snaps?
It could have broken. There's all sorts of things that could happen. That could have been bad. But they worked hard. It was a good match.
They could have snapped. It was a really good match. They could have snapped. They could have. Actually, I thought those were the two best matches on the show. From there, it really opened up strong, and from there, the rest of the show I thought was kind of like an average show.
Well, we had Sammy and Karrion Kross, which very much felt like kind of a glorified television match, just something you'd see on Raw.
It was good. That was good, but it wasn't. It's Karrion Kross, and it's Karrion Kross. There's an upside to it, if you know what I mean. There's a limit, whatever. Sammy did real well. Karrion Kross did well for Karrion Kross. It was a nice match. But yeah, I mean, it was not, I guess it was like a prelim match on a pay-per-view, good enough, for sure.
I mean, the story of this one is that Karrion Kross took like the majority of the match, to the point where when Sami Zayn won, Michael Cole actually called it a miracle. It's a miracle, he said, which seemed a little strong. But he beat him for a long time, and then Sammy's calling him a liar, and he's, pummeling him, and he's beating him up in the corner. And finally, he runs to the other corner for a spot, but Sammy follows him, hits the big kick, gets the pin. And it was fine. It was probably a little better than you would see in an average match on Raw. But certainly not like your typical
it was better
good
than
pay-per-view match.
But it wasn't better than a Super Raw. One of the top end Raw matches.
And then we had Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa for the U.S. title, and Jacob Fatu does his entrance, and they're really into his entrance. But this match starts, and nobody cares about Solo beating on him. Nobody cared when Jacob Fatu was running wild on Solo. There's just no heat for this match. And finally, JC Mateo runs down to take the ref, so Tonga Loa can return. Tonga Loa shows up, gives Jacob a draping neckbreaker behind the ref's back. Solo covers, Jacob kicks out. So then Jacob hits this big Fosbury flop dive over the top and takes out Tonga and JC. So he starts running wild. And then he hits the moonsault. He gets a visual pin, but the ref is getting rid of JC. And as this happens, the former Hikuleo, who is now Tala Tonga, he shows up, he gives Fatu the choke slam on the announce table, throws him in the ring.
Wait. There was Jacob had the pin, and Tala Tonga, or Hikuleo, whatever, pulls him out, and it's just it's ludicrous.
Because the referee was with JC.
Yeah,
the referee did miss this. So yeah, Hikuleo's beating him up. The ref didn't see it, and
he's beating him up for way too long.
He beat him up for a long time, and throws him in the ring. And Solo gives Jacob the thumb, gets the pin, and wins the title. I know they want to beef up Solo's group and everything like that, but my God, I can't believe they beat Jacob Fatu already. Wouldn't have been my call. I'd had him win and then have this guy show up afterwards or something.
Well, the thing is that for Talatonga, I mean, the whole deal is that if he's going to show up with Impact, it's the way to debut him. I think that it's probably premature in the sense that Jacob just won the title.
It was over.
What?
And he was over.
Oh yeah, he's over.
If you watch the SmackDown show, aside from the guys like Cody, John Cena, CM Punk, the very, very tippy top guys, aside from those guys, really the most over guy on the show right now, the guy that people see as a new rising star, it's Jacob Fatu.
He's the one guy. He's the one guy. Even more than Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
He's the one. he's the one guy where he's very, very over. Yeah, I would. I mean, like if you were going to beat him for the title, this was the way to do it. The problem is that it shouldn't have been for. I mean, like I don't want to give it time, like 9 months or whatever. I mean, there's time that there would be a time that would be right, but this wasn't the time. I mean, it was just like it's too soon to do this. But I think the idea was they just want to get Hikuleo up and running. They've had him sit for over a year. So it's kind of like, and you got to remember that, like, Nick Khan pretty much set this up when he says we don't bench anyone, and everyone goes, Hikuleo. And then all of a sudden he shows up. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, they kind of played themselves into that corner, and they kind of had to bring him back now. So that's what they did. And I guess, if you're going to bring him in, I'm sure from day one, the idea was, we're not going to put him in NXT. We're not going to do nothing with him. We're going to keep him away from anything. And when we finally debut the big monstrous guy, it has to have impact. So, the impact was that he basically cost Jacob Fatu, the unbeatable Jacob Fatu, a match.
Then we had Jade Cargill and Asuka for the Queen of the Ring title. And this match went about 8 minutes. And the story of the match is that Asuka, first off, I mean, there's two stories. If we're talking about the actual work, like, Jade didn't do anything wrong, but, like, Asuka was just incredible in this match. She's had 3 matches. This is her 3rd match since coming back from full-on knee surgery out a year, and she just looks great. And on top of her actual work, like, the story of the match is, she beat Jade's ass for 7.5 of the 8 minutes. She just worked over her knee, and she beat her, and she countered this, and she countered that, and she beat her, and she kicked her, and she pummeled her. And, like, it's just countering everything that Jade does. And then finally, she goes for her finish, and Jade just grabs her and hits Jade and wins. And, like, the idea of this match was supposed to get Jade over, and, like, when it was over, it's like Asuka came off as like a great worker, a big star, and Jade just came off as the person who was in the ring with her.
They knew Jade.
They didn't care about her one bit. They didn't give her anything in this match to look impressive. Like, all she did was sell and get foiled, like, right and left. Everything she tried got countered. The whole entire match. And yeah, they booed her at the end, and she cut a promo, and they booed her more.
I think the idea is they didn't want people to think they were handing it to her, so they made her earn it. But
yeah, but like it didn't look like she earned it in this match.
Well, she didn't look good in the tournament anyway, so it was like, I think that didn't help her. I mean, it's like, and here's the other thing too. All Jade really has going for her is her look. Okay, I mean, but the look is great. And in Saudi Arabia, we don't see any of those muscles. So she's like someone in a cat suit. You know what I mean? It's like it's not as visually impressive. So now you've just got someone who's a below average worker working with Asuka, who's really good. And I mean, in a completely different league with her. And without her out there, with a phenomenal looking body, it's like the body, at least, like, you look at the two of them and she's bigger and she's got the body. So it kind of maybe is more impressive than Asuka, who's so much smaller but can work rings around her. In this case, it's just like she's worked rings around her, and that was that. Whatever, she's been in there for years, and she's better, but for someone, I don't know, for someone who's been in there for years, she really should have improved at a quicker level. I think, especially someone who's like a legit athlete and everything too. It's not like she's some bodybuilder, that they're pushing. I mean, she's a legit athlete, but I don't know what it is. It's like she got to a certain point, and I mean,
this is what we talked about the other day. I mean, this is the issue with no house shows. I mean, you talk about her being there for years, and she has been in the business for years.
But she was there for months when they were still doing house shows.
I know, but she has had 119 matches in her entire career. 119. That's not that many matches. I mean,
I know a lot of people with less that are a lot better than her.
well, I mean, that's all fine and good, but like 119 is not a lot of matches. Not to mention, Dave, the people that have fewer matches than her, most of those 119 matches weren't 1 minute squash matches. They were actual matches. If you want to go through her career and look at how many back and forth, like real matches did she have that weren't just you going to go out there and squash someone on Dynamite or whatever, I mean, what, 40? Less? 30? I mean, it hasn't been that many. So that's a big problem. And there's nowhere for her to do matches.
Now there isn't, yeah.
Yeah. Main event was John Cena and CM Punk. And athletically, this was on the higher end of John Cena matches of late. He did take bumps. And they were actual bumps, not the ones where he kind of puts his hands down and really half-asses it. I mean, they went a long time. There was tons of interference at the end. But, like, the first 10, 12 minutes, I mean, they did a match. And the story was John kept hitting the AA, and Punk kicked out once. He kicked out twice. He kicked out 3 times. And after the third time, Cena was like, well, damn it. He goes and gets the belt, which was the first time he really got booed in this match when he got the belt. And he goes in the ring, and the ref tells him he can't use it, and so he throws the belt outside, and the place goes nuts. So then Punk hits a GTS. Cena kicks out of that. Cena then goes for his comeback for the second time, and he takes out the referee. So the ref is down. Punk hits a GTS. He has the win, but there's no referee. So Seth's music hit. His entire crew comes out. They all run down to the ring. And so Punk's running this guy. He takes out Braun. He takes out Bronson. He tries for a pescado and goddamn near kills himself. They saved his life. He was going right down towards his head. And they end up going to, they're going to choke slam CM Punk through a table. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are going to choke slam Punk through the table. These two big, strong dudes, they mistimed this. They cut him about a foot off the ground because it was so badly mistimed. And he still managed to get through the table. So he's dead. So, Charles Robinson, who, by the way, turns 61 next week. This dude sprints down the ramp. And he goes to jump into the ring so Seth can do the cash in. But John Cena hits him with a fucking pounce and wipes this dude out. This 61-year-old man. So Cena and Seth have a stare down. Cena gives him the AA. Bronson and Braun hit the ring and they go after Cena. And Penta runs down to make the save. He takes out Braun Breaker. Sammy's music hits. They kind of brawl in the back.
No, Braun Breaker takes out him.
Well, yeah, then Sammy's music hits, and then they take out Braun together when Penta does a dive off the cage or the stage. So then in the ring, Bronson...
Well, Braun Breaker first, Penta goes in there to make the save. So here's the funny part. Penta is supposed to come out and make the save, right? He stands there and he does his freaking dance and just does his dance instead of make the save until Braun Breaker runs out to him. He's not even running in the ring. He's doing his ring entrance. Okay, so Braun Breaker runs out to him, beats his ass, suplexes him on the ramp. Then Sammy comes in. He's beating Sammy's ass like in 10 seconds. So then Penta jumps off the stage, with a dive to basically protect himself because of how bad Braun made him look in the first run that he did. So so Braun's out of the picture at that point for a little while.
So Bronson goes up top for the tsunami on Cena, but CM Punk tosses him off and saves John Cena. And the announcers are like, well, these men have to work together to prevent Seth from cashing in. So Punk and Cena have a stare down. Punk offers a handshake. Cena shakes his hand, but then does the mean face, goes for the low blow. Punk catches a foot, goes for the AA. Seth hits Punk with the briefcase, hits a stomp. Cena throws Seth outside. The ref returns just in time to count the pin. John Cena pins CM Punk. So, and then they were like right off the air for that post show. But a lot of shenanigans. I mean, a lot of smoke and mirrors. But man, I've seen a lot of John Cena matches of late, and I won't say this match was great because it certainly wasn't. But for a 28-minute or whatever it was John Cena match in 2025 with CM Punk, who also is not, the best athlete, I mean, they managed to pull it off. I would not say this was embarrassing or anything like that.
But the thing with both of them is they're both very smart when it comes to when to do and everything like that. They did like everything they did. I mean, it was very predictable. If you watch WWE matches, you basically, the new thing is that you rely on your few moves and you do them over and over and over again, and that's what they did. And they both can do those well, so that was fine. Everything else in the match looked good. They were good. The only thing, and they actually did spot twice, once early and once later, was this spinning neck breaker spot that Punk does. And I actually, because I actually just started dance class like 2 weeks ago, so I'm doing dance lessons, right?
Oh my God.
Okay, so both times it was just like, I'm watching this going like, God, this was me week 1 of dance lessons. That's how bad that neck breaker looked. And it's not even me in week 2. I go, like, week 2, I'm already better than this. Like, they were so slow. Everything else was good, but man, that neck breaker, it's like they were two guys that were like, it's like two guys like doing a move that for whatever reason, those two guys shouldn't be doing. And then they went and did it a second time, and it looked even worse the second time. It's just like, oh,
Dave, as you'll learn in dance class, if at first you don't succeed, you must try again.
No, yeah, you do it, but you would think that like you're in, it's like if you're out there in front of a pay-per-view audience, you should be smoother, because it really did look like guys in their first day of training for that one move. The rest of the match was very professional, but man, that neck breaker spot twice was just like really awkward. I don't even think it was Punk's fault. I think it was like Cena's that just doesn't know how to take it or something. But whatever it was, man, it was that should be. I don't have to worry about it though, because it's like they're never going to do another match. So I would say like next time you do the match, don't do it. But they're never doing another match anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All right, before we get to the rest of these news notes here, Raw on Monday, which is a 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific start time on Netflix, has The New Day versus The Judgment Day for the tag team titles, and Sheamus and Rusev. So that is the 2 matches announced for Raw thus far, and I guess everyone's on the plane on the way back, so they got out this time.
Yeah.
All right, AEW's advance for All In.
Yeah. They were 2.45 million 7 days ago, so they're probably at well over 2.5 million now. 19,000 tickets, maybe more by now. But it was it was like 18,500 when they were 2.45. So whatever. So it's as far as, aside from WWE, it is the largest gate for any pro wrestling show ever held in the United States, or Canada for that matter, or Mexico for that matter. And in fact, doubled anything. I mean, WWE's beaten that number many times, but doubled anything for any other company ever. And for those who go, well, inflation and all this, the highest. The second highest number for if you factor in inflation, okay, on ticket sales would have been a WCW show. It was actually the Finger Book of Doom show at the Georgia Dome. So that would be 1.86 million. So they've beaten that by a landslide. There's 600,000, probably close to 700,000 above that. So they're well ahead of that. But the second Dutch Hackenschmidt in 1911 actually is like 2.9 million. So they may not beat that one, but they may beat that one. But the point is that like we're going back, 100 years and Dutch Hackenschmidt was 14 years ago. We're going back so many years. I mean, it's like this is a really freaking, it's not as big as, the Wembley gates, but it's double anything else they've ever done. So it's a big success. The next show in London at the O2, they're at 2.1 million, which would be, another big success. But it'll be there. That was so. That will be their fourth biggest gate. This one coming up is their third, because the two Wembleys beat this. So two of their biggest shows of the year, and then the one right now, technically, because these shows haven't happened, it's the third, was the one in February in Australia.